Hi.
Hi, can we all switch our videos on, please? Alright, just give me a second while I share my screen. Alright, so since we're a very small group here, we are going to start with some introductions. Okay, so I'll start first. My name's Saloni, and I'm just a little bit older than you guys. So you can call me Saloni. You don't have to say miss or ma'am or anything else. Saloni is fine. So now we can go one by one and everyone can introduce themselves. Would be really nice if you could all turn your videos on, please. Maybe we could, you could like say your name and also how old you are maybe or what grade you're in. Yeah, so why don't we start with Anya?
Hi. I'm Anya and I am in the 4th grade and I'm 9 years old.
Okay, great. So who wants to go next? You can just raise your hand or unmute yourself. Okay. Rita, do you want to go next?
Okay, my name is Hriday and I'm 13 years old.
Okay. Reina, do you want to go next? Did I say your name right?
Yeah, it's Rena. I'm 13 years old and I'm in grade 7.
All right. Okay. Do you guys want to start introducing yourselves on your own, or should I keep picking people? Does anyone want to go?
My name is Rudra. I'm 13 years old and I'm in 7th grade.
All right. Thank you, Rudra. Who wants to go next? All right, Arjun, you can go next.
Yeah, hi, my name is Arjun. I'm 13 years old and I'm in the 7th grade too. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Arjun. Vidushi, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Vidushi. I'm 14 years old and I'm in the 8th grade.
Okay. Kunal, I see that your video is off, so I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself now. You're on mute. I don't know if you're saying anything.
I think he's eating.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Take your time. Don't worry.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Eat. Anushka, do you want to go next?
I'm Anushka and I'm 12 years old and I'm in 7th grade as well.
All right. Okay. Who's left?
I can go now.
Yeah. Okay.
So hi, I'm Kunal Parekh and I'm in the 8th grade. And I'm 14 years
old. Okay. Thanks, Kunal. Sorry for interrupting you while you were eating. Adish, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Adish and I'm 13 and I'm in the 8th grade.
All right. Radhita, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Radhita. I'm 14 and I'm in the 8th grade.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone left? Did I miss anyone? Anushka?
I already went.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I think we've gone through everyone, but if in case we haven't, please just feel free to unmute yourself. All right. So, I think the only thing I really want to highlight before we get started is that design thinking will probably be something that's new to all of you. So I think it's important that if you have any questions or you have any opinions or you have anything at all, you interrupt me and you ask me, or you can add to what I'm saying as well. It's completely okay. This is a conversation. Okay? So that's my only thing. Just feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt me at any point if you have any questions. Okay? So I'd actually like to start with a question. I don't think, at least when I was your age, I didn't know what design thinking is. So does anyone want to tell me what they think it is? Anyone?
I think Anya wants to go.
Yeah, go ahead, Anya.
Maybe it's the design of a machine that you create.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Does anyone else want to add to that? Is anyone else? No? Okay. So, Anya, you were correct. That can be design thinking, but more, if we look at it at its core and if we look at it more basically, design thinking is just a method of problem solving. Okay, so it's just how you think to solve a problem. Okay, but this can be broken down further into 5 different steps. So let's just take a look at that really quickly. So the 5 steps are define, ideate, prototype, and test. So now that's all well and good, but what does that actually mean? So first, when you want to start the design process, you want to understand the user, right? Does that make sense? But when you understand the user, you need to understand the user to understand the problem that they are facing, right? And yeah, and thanks, Anya. And then once you understand the problem, once you have a full understanding of the problem, you can start thinking of innovative solutions. And once you've thought of a few innovative solutions, you can narrow down to one and you can prototype it. Prototype means basically creating a very, very basic version of your solution. So it can be a device, it can be a machine, it can be an app, whatever you want it to be, right? So you can create something that shows what that would look like or what it would work like. And then once you create the prototype, you want to go back to the user and you want to test it with them, because in the whole design thinking process, who's at the center of the journey? Does anyone want to tell me who you think is at the center of the journey? Who is the most important person here? It could be anyone. So does anyone want to go? I can't unmute anyone, so I can't even ask you. Sanjana, can you ask someone to unmute? Just anyone. Okay, does anyone want to say it? Okay, so I guess not.
Wait, what's the question again?
So the question is, who's at the center of the design thinking process? Who's the most important person?
The person who ideates, gets the idea.
Yes, I mean, yes, definitely, because you can't really have a design without them. But I guess, yeah, Anya, do you want to say something?
Maybe it can also be the person who finds out how the design is going to function with the AI.
Yes, very good. Radha, so you also want to say something? Go ahead.
The user.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Actually, all the answers are correct, because I guess you can't have a design without a designer. So obviously, I think you need the designer. But ideally, the most important person is the user, because you're trying to make their journey simple. You're trying to make their life easier, right? So what you're designing for the user. So it needs to work for them. So you keep going back to the user to check how they feel like your prototype is, or what changes you can make. So I just went through this really quickly, but now we'll go through it with an example. All right. So let's look at the case of Mr. John. Okay. So can anyone tell me what the first step in the journey is, the design process is? Yes. You don't need to raise your hand, just unmute yourself.
Okay. The first find out the problem of Mr. John.
Yes. So how do you find out the problem? So you first try to put yourself in Mr. John's place, right? So the first step is to empathize. So you need to understand what Mr. John does every day. So I'll tell you a little bit about Mr. John. Mr. John leads a good life. He lives on the second floor of a 10-story apartment building. He lives with his daughter and his son. And due to the pandemic, he's been forced to work from home and spend his day with his kids. Now let's step into his shoes and live life through his eyes. So once we do that, we can find what the problem is. So obviously we don't know who Mr. John is, so we can't actually do any of that, but I can tell you what the problem is for now. So surely Mr. John faces some problems, right? So while living life through his eyes, we could see that often leaves fall into his balcony and he has to spend some time cleaning them up. So he would rather spend time working or bonding with his kids. So now that we understand Mr. John and the problem he faces, we can move on to the next step. So can someone tell me what the next step is? Just unmute yourself.
To find out a solution using AI.
Yes, exactly. Who said that? Sorry. Who said that? I don't know who said that. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, that's absolutely correct. So we define the problem and now we want to find the solution. So we want to ideate. Ideate means to find ideas, basically, right? So now we need to think of how we can solve this problem. So we're all going to think of a solution and we're actually going to think of many solutions. So I'm going to send you a link in the chat and I want you to open the link. Just let me share the link with you. Just a second.
I have a question. Could you repeat the problem again?
Okay, yeah, of course. So the problem is that leaves keep falling into his balcony and he has to keep cleaning them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no one else will do that for him. So he has to keep cleaning them up and he ends up wasting a lot of his day doing that. And that's the problem we're trying to solve. We don't want him to waste so much time because he'd rather be doing other things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay.
So let me just share a link with you really quickly. Okay, everyone just open this link and just click on the folder, just open the folder with your name. Can I get like a thumbs up or something when you guys have done that? Yeah? Has everyone done that? Okay, cool, perfect.
My camera will go off when I'm writing because I'm on an iPad.
That's fine, no worry. No worry. It's best if your cameras are on, but I understand if you can't have them on. That's fine. So now what we're going to do is I want you guys to open the file that's called Ideation. Okay, so that's a Jamboard. Now, all you need to do is add a few sticky notes and click. So to add the sticky notes, you need to click on this icon. I've added it here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but yeah. So now let's try to think of 3 ideas. Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's try to think of 3 ideas each at least. We have 15 minutes. All right, we're going to discuss them as well. So ideally, since we're all quite old, we're 14 and such. So let's try to think of 5 or so ideas. Okay, let's think of 5 solutions to Mr. John's problem. Okay, and I want you guys to add them into the sticky notes. Okay, we're just gonna.
I'm not able to find that. Like, I don't have the Jamboard app.
You don't have the app?
No.
It should just be. So did you open the folder?
Yeah, I opened.
I think you uploaded the files where you want us to add the sticky notes as PDFs, so we can't edit them on Jamboard.
Oh God. Okay, fine. All right, give me a minute.
Or we can just go, please.
All right. Otherwise, you guys can just write your ideas down. That's fine, or just type them out. Make a Google Doc in that folder, ideally, and just type them out. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's take about 10 minutes to do this. I want you guys to think about 10 ideas and then we'll discuss them. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can of course ask. So what you're trying to find here, your solutions should basically be something physical, right? So it should be something tangible that they can put in, that Mr. John can put in his house, right? So I want you to think about what it could be, what those things could be, and then we will discuss them. In the meantime, if you have any questions, just unmute and ask.
Use the washroom.
Okay. All right. So it looks like time's up. So we're going to go on. And does anyone want to share their ideas? I think it would be nice for us to discuss a few. So
Can I say?
sorry?
Can I say?
Yes, of course.
So I thought of some ideas. The first one could be something like a vacuum cleaner, which would be put on the balcony's wall. And then when it'll have a camera, so when the camera identifies a leaf or a garbage item, it has a suction pipe, so it can aim the suction thingy on the leaf or garbage item, and then it can suck it, and then once in a month or something, he can take it and dump it outside.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I thought of one more thing. There can be a glass that's put on the balcony's roof. So whenever the glass reaches a particular weight, because of the leaves, then the glass can dump it, or like it can move like this and then dump it on the other side, which is on the floor.
All right. Yeah. Very good. Are there any others?
I have some more, but these are the good ones.
Sorry?
I have some more, but these are the better ones. Those are.
That's all right. Let's see. Let's get everyone to share one. Okay. So Arjun, you can go next.
Yeah, I came up with 6, but some are really stupid.
It's okay. You can share the one you can share the ones you want to share. And I'm sure none of them are stupid. It's just maybe you have better ideas.
The first one was like a machine which recognizes where the leaves are and then just picks up the leaves and keeps them and just holds them, and then you can later dump it. Then you can just put leaf blowers basically on the ground, and then they'll just blow the leaves away, sort of. And then I had something like a dust bot, which is like a window cleaner, and then it can remove leaves off the balcony. Then you could create a top, like a covering on the top, so leaves don't fall inside the balcony. And then my really stupid one was just cut down the tree that has all the leaves.
All right. Okay, I'm not sure he has the power to do that, but I like the ideas. Kunal, you can go next.
Okay, so basically I had a couple of very simple ideas and complicated ideas. So now, very simply, if you have an issue of leaves falling in your balcony, either you can put a roof over the balcony to prevent any leaves coming, or you can put a net. And then if you want to have it related to artificial intelligence and technology, then what you can do is you can have a stand or something like an ultrasonic sensor somewhere. The balcony, which scans. So depending on the season, it can calculate how many leaves approximately will fall, and then and depending on that, it can sweep the entire. Or a small robot can sort of go and sweep the balcony once, depending on the season. Let's say once a day or once a week or something like that.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a very good idea. Does anyone want to go next, or I'll continue calling people? Okay, Rudra, you can go next.
Me? Okay. So for the problem like this, there are two kinds of solutions. Either you find a way from stopping the leaves from falling on the balcony, or you find a way to make cleaning it from the balcony easier. I found a few solutions for each. To stop it from falling on the balcony, you can use something to cover the top of the balcony, like maybe a net, or you to just trim the branches of the tree which are dropping the leaves on the balcony. And now to clean up the leaves, easier ways is you can put a layer of plastic on the balcony floor, so when you just lift that, all the leaves will come out and it'll be much easier to clean up whenever you want to clean it up. Or you can just have a robot to clear leaves, as people mentioned before.
Yeah. Right.
Or you can just have grow plants where the leaves usually fall, so the leaves will decompose them.
All right. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea. Who wants to go next? All right, Vidushi, you can go next.
So I think the best idea I came up with was building like a robot that senses the leaves. Like you have to train the robot to sense the leaves and then they just go towards it and pick it up. So that saves a lot of time.
All right. Yeah. Good. Aradhita, you can go next.
So the idea that I thought of was to just give him a vacuum cleaner that's large enough to quickly take up the leaves rather than anything else. Another thing, like everyone said, a net above his balcony. Or he could just replant the tree into another area where the leaves don't fall directly into his balcony. And then a roof, so with a tilted, like a steeple roof which is tilted. So when the leaves fall, they'll just fall back down to the ground because it's a tilted surface.
All right. Yeah. Makes sense. Vedant, you can go next.
So my main idea was like a Roomba sort of, but bigger, and it can work two ways. So it has a suction pipe and it can blow the leaves off. So
Right.
it works two ways.
So actually, I have a question about that. So you said it has a suction pipe and it blows the leaves away. So how exactly, like what exactly does it do? I'm kind of confused. I don't think I
So
understood.
it can either like it can have like a sensor at the bottom, so it can sense if there are any leaves, and it can either suck up the leaves or it can like blow them away.
Okay. So there are two different options, right? Okay. All right. I thought it does both at the same time. Now who's next? Adish, you can go.
So the best idea I thought of was like place a fan nearby so that the leaves are just blown away.
Yeah.
Or you could just put a net or something over the balcony.
Right. Makes sense. Who wants to go next? Everyone's gonna go. Like everyone's gonna say it. So if you want to just volunteer and say it. No? Okay, fine. Reina, you can go.
You can either cover it with like a net or something, so then you can collect it all and dispose it at once. Or then if there are like too many leaves, then you can like use like a blower to create piles, and then you can like easily pick it up at once and dump it later.
All right. Yeah. Good. Rudra, you can go now.
So already many of my solutions are done. So I had thought of firstly putting a net on the balcony, which is already done. Then I had thought of having like a robotic vacuum cleaner sort of thing, like which will like pick up all the leaves and stuff. And then I had thought of again, many of these solutions are already done. So like I thought of the fan.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Now who's left? Anushka.
I have he can cover his roof or put like a thin net on the outside. He could like automate a leaf blower that goes off every hour. He could pay his kids to do it in chores.
Yeah.
He could put a fan so that the leaves blow away, and he could like find a way to, I don't know, move the tree or cut it down.
All right. Yeah. Did we miss anyone? Arjun, did you say? I think you did.
Yeah, I did good.
What about Aradhita?
Yeah. Okay. She already went, right? Radhita, you already said yours, right? I think I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Everyone's done, I think. Okay. Fine. So that was part of the ideation phase. So now we can move on to the next part. So for this, the point is that you want to improve the solutions you already have, right? Because your first idea is unlikely to be your best idea. So instead of going with your first idea, we're going to try something that forces you to change your ideas a little bit. So I just want you guys to think of your favorite idea so far, the one that you've liked the most, the one that you think would work best, the most innovative one, whatever you think is most different, whichever one you want to go with, basically. Just pick one.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, of course.
Just a question. Now, many times we can find lots of innovative ideas and all that stuff, but they might not be the most effective or idea. So, do you want us to choose in the lens of innovation or effectiveness?
So that's actually a very good question.
See, because if you do something like have a net or something, or use a vacuum cleaner, that's most effective. But if you have something like create a portal in which the tree can just disappear so that no more leaves fall, that's innovative, but I don't know how effective that is.
So it needs to be innovative, but it also needs to be realistic, right? So while a net is actually a very good idea because it's simple, it would be cheap to implement, it is already used quite often, right? So maybe you should try to think of something or use something that is a little bit different from what has been used in the past, but at the same time seems realistic enough to actually work. You don't want to pick something that is not possible. Like, a portal in which like the tree will disappear, that is not going to happen. So don't pick stuff like that, but pick innovative stuff. Something that's different, but something you think will work. All right. Okay. So we're going to try this thing called Scamper. Does anyone know what Scamper is? I really.
So just one question.
Yeah.
Ron an old man, because if he's old, then we can't give him a vacuum cleaner. Because
he's a really old man.
Then otherwise he'll fall down.
That's also a very good question. You need to understand your user, right? Let's see. Do you want him to be an old man? He's an old man then. You can't give him a vacuum cleaner.
Wait, can I add something to that?
Yes.
Kunal, if you're saying he's an old man, why don't you think of a vacuum cleaner that he'll be able to use without actually using it? Like without moving around with it.
So that's like an automatic vacuum cleaner, which is like a automated robot that can move and clear the leaves.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else want to add anything? Does anyone have any questions? Anything else you want to learn about Mr. John? Also feel free to ask, because I think it's important that we understand the user.
How much free time does Mr. John have?
Mr. John does not have much free time because he works from home, right? Because of the pandemic. He's working from home, and the rest of his time he wants to spend with his kids. So he actually does not get much free time, because he has to clean up the leaves. If he didn't have to clean up the leaves, then he would have some more free time, so he could hang out with his kids, or actually be more productive and work.
Okay.
Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna try something called Scamper. Okay, so Scamper is essentially a very commonly used technique, which forces you to see your product or your solution, your idea, from a very different lens. So it forces you to look at whatever you've already come up with very differently, so you could perhaps come up with a better idea. So we can go through what each of these mean. So Scamper stands for substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. Now, what does that mean? So substitute means that you replace one part of your solution or your device or whatever you have come up with something else. All right, you try something else. You can force fit it, it might work better, right? The other one is combine. So you can combine the solution you've come up with something that already exists, because that might make it better. Then we have adapt. Adapt means changing an idea that already exists, not something you've come up with, but something that already exists to solve your problem today. Yeah? And modify means altering one aspect of your product. For example, you could try, let's see. So if you have a leaf blower, right? So a very common modification is magnifying. So increasing the size of a specific aspect of the product, right? So you change the focus on one of the aspects, on one of the parts of the product. And then the next one is put to another use. So you just want to see how else you can use the same product. So for example, if I have a yoga mat, so if I have a yoga mat, I can use that for yoga, but if I'm stuck in the rain, I can also hold it above my head to keep me from getting wet, right? So that's putting something to another use. And then eliminate is pretty self-explanatory. It just means to get rid of one part of your solution. So the idea you've come up with, just remove one part of it, but make sure it still works. And then the next one is very clear, I think. It's reverse. So you just reverse the orientation of the product. You look at it quite literally from a different angle. Yeah. So I know this is a bit complex and it's a bit confusing because they all seem kind of similar. So if you guys have any questions right now, you can ask. Does anyone have any questions about this? I will give you a minute to think about questions.
Can the same object, like, can it have a different mode in it instead of like doing something else with it? Like
for which one are you asking?
Yeah, I want to choose the glass one. So could it have a mode when there's a thunderstorm or rain? Then it can be like there can be a mode which makes it waterproof, so the electronic in the glass won't get damaged. And yeah,
Yes, definitely. So
you from the rain.
yeah, so actually which one do you think that fits into? Which of these 7 things do you think it fits into?
Combine. No.
Absolutely. No, combine's correct. Combine's correct. So I can give you an example of combine. You know how earlier mobile phones didn't used to have cameras in them, right? So an example of a combined product is your mobile phone with a camera, because cameras used to be separate and phones used to be separate, right? And now almost all phones have cameras. I don't think there are many that don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's an example of combination. So does anyone have any other questions or thoughts? Anything? No? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use Scamper to change the idea we selected. All right. So we're going to use all 7 of these aspects and modify our product. We're going to change our product a little bit based on all 4 of these. So you can just again use a Google Doc. Maybe put in the same folder. Yeah. I'm just going to put this up for you to see. So you have something to refer to when you're doing it. So you can take 15 minutes to do this. All right. And again, any questions, just ask. Is actually just changing how you're looking at it. So let's see. I'm just looking for something that I can use as an example. So okay. So if I have a mat, for example, like a floor mat, yeah, and instead of putting it on the floor, I put it on the wall, right? It becomes a wall hanging. So I've just changed how I'm looking at it. Instead of it lying like this, it's now upright, right? So we're looking at it differently. So that's actually what you're supposed to do. You're just supposed to turn it around, look at it a little bit differently. If it's a process, reverse the process.
Like a solution which we are doing, we have to change it.
Yeah, so you just make it the opposite, but still make it work. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? A little bit.
Oh, 1 second. I just have to use the washroom.
Yeah, no worries. And also you're confused about put to another use, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So put to another use is not changing anything in your product. Okay? It's just saying how the product you create can be used for something completely different. Right? So the idea here is not to change anything. The idea here is not to change your idea. It's to use the same idea on something else. So let me think of another example. So I gave that yoga mat example. Now let's think of something else. All right, okay. So this is actually like a very simple example. So you have paper, right? You can write with paper. You can write on paper. Yeah, but you can also fold paper and like make it origami. Correct? Yeah. So the aim of paper, say if the original idea, the original problem you were trying to solve was that you were trying to find something you can write on. Now you're putting it to another use and you're folding it and making something completely different, right? So you're using it for something that it was not designed for, but it works for. Does that make sense?
Yes, kind of.
Kind of. Do you want to try using an example and explaining it back to me, maybe?
But
You
like
can
this
think of
is stuff like which you can do for a product. I don't understand how exactly you do for a solution.
So your product is your solution, right? So your solution, device, product, they're all different names for the same thing. Your idea, right? How are you solving the problem? You're solving the problem with a device you're creating, or you're solving the problem with some physical equipment you're creating. Your device, that physical equipment, is your product, is it not?
Right.
Yeah. So that's exactly the same thing. So if you know that it's a product, yeah, you want to find something else you can use it for. Even if you design it to remove the leaves from his balcony, what else can you use it for? So
And okay, in that way, so that will be for put to another use. What else
yes,
can you use the product for?
yeah, exactly. So after the timer runs out, like once the 3 minutes end, I'll tell you one thing I think a leaf blower can be used for. But I think a lot of people are using that right now, so I don't want to say it right now in case they're still thinking. So we'll just wait 2.5 minutes and then I'll tell you what I think it can be used for.
I'm done with all of them.
You're done with all of them?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Maybe you can try thinking of more.
Okay.
You can think of more substitutes, you can make more combinations you can have. So the more ideas you have, the more you change your original idea, the more likely it is that your end result, the idea you have at the end, will be stronger. Yeah?
Okay.
I didn't really get the eliminate part. So do we have to like sort of like remove something from our whatever ideas? And then but then how will it work? So like we have to add something else or
No, you just need to think of something you can remove and still make it work. Because if you remove something and add something else, that's substitute, no?
yeah.
Is it not? Yeah. So they're not the same thing. Eliminate means remove. So you want to remove something from your idea, like some component. It makes you think, it pushes you a little bit because it's not very easy to think of these things. Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's really not. So think. It's fine. All right, okay. Time's up. So
I added a very silly point, but it's very good. I really like that.
go on.
No, I said that I've added a very silly point.
Oh, you can share it with us. Do you wanna share it with us?
Okay, should I share the entire thing or just the silly point?
Share share whatever you want to share.
Okay. So first I made it happen in different modes. So it can be there in when it's very hot, it can give out cool air. This very silly point was that it can spray mosquito repellent on the outside and room freshener on the inside. And then it can if it's a very hot day, then it can spread cool air, and if it's a very cold day, it can spread warm air, depending on the temperature, and it can feel the temperature itself. And then obviously it's a glass that protects it, and that protects anything from coming. It can protect bugs from coming inside. In the night, it can make it pitch black, and it can make it pitch black. And when in the night or whenever you want to watch a movie, it can make it feel like a movie theater, and there'll be a separate part which can come down as a screen, and then there are LED lights for parties, and it can keep and when there's and the but and I decided to remove the buttons to check the modes. It can operate from your phone, or it can feel if there's any weight that's popping, like hitting on that a lot. That means it's snowing, or it's there's hail. So if there's any of that, then it can protect itself. And if there's rain, then it can also feel that. And then one second. Yeah, and yeah, that's all sort of it.
I really like your idea. You said you can remove the buttons, right? So
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this, and I think maybe when you remove the buttons, you can add something like voice recognition. So maybe you can just say it, and it will do whatever you say.
Yeah, that's a good
Right?
idea.
That's AI, right?
I'll add that.
Yeah. That was just what I was thinking. So, okay, who wants to go next? You don't have to share all of them. You can share the ones you like the most. Whatever useful outcome has come from any of the scamper points. Go on. Someone unmuted themselves. Reza, you unmuted yourself. You have to tell me now.
Okay, so I changed the net idea with all of these. I changed it quite a bit. Like instead of a net on top, or a metal platform which is there, it stops the leaves from falling on it. It can also stop rainwater from falling, which is the other thing it did. And the rain. Yeah, just adding a metal instead of the net on top to stop rainwater from falling also, and make this more effective than the chance of leaves possibly falling through the net.
All right. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Do you want to add anything else? Like any of your other ones? You don't have to. I'm just asking if you want to.
So we don't have to say all the scamper points. Right? We just have to say what, ideally, what new changes we put to the product.
Yeah, the ones that what have you taken away from the exercise? What changes would you like to make to your original idea?
Yeah, so like the original idea, the one which I did was the vacuuming robot, or like the one which will vacuum, like, to pick up all the leaves. So I changed it. Firstly, I changed it that it will automatically detect if it's raining and park it such that there's no water problems. So secondly, when you say putty, also it can also vacuum clean any dirt or anything else which is on the terrace and keep it clean instead of only for the leaves.
Yeah.
So this idea I didn't necessarily come up before, but after listening to other people, I got it. So you can, like how you said, we can use voice recognition and like mobile phone features alike instead of having exactly buttons to it. Then I also came up with a app for it where you can map out the area in which the robot has to clear, and using AI can determine a efficient path to clear only that much area.
All right. Yeah, it's a very good idea. Yeah, very good. I will tell you what I was thinking of earlier. You know, I said the whole leaf blower thing. I'll tell you. I just want everyone to share the ideas first. It's a very simple idea, so but I still want to just hold on. Yeah, who wants to go next?
Yes, but in the beginning also I was thinking that you could use a leaf blower, but then I realized I was not able to come up with another idea. So I wanted to ask you for it. Isn't it just the job of a leaf blower, which is an already invented product?
Yeah.
Then I understand we're supposed to come up with a different idea which is more effective.
Yeah, like a leaf blower could be part of your design, right? It shouldn't be your entire design because
When I heard the problem, I was just like, you can use a leaf blower.
yeah. So maybe he
Is
does
that
use a
his
leaf.
job?
Maybe Mr. John's balcony is so big that using a leaf blower takes him 3 hours. You know, like I don't know how big the balcony would have to be for that, but that's entirely possible. So I guess it's just about how do you cut down the time, right? How do you cut down the time or completely eliminate the time?
I think Radhika, Adish, and Ruchi have some great ideas. Because what they mentioned before. So perhaps then, because we have some similar ideas, then I could add on. Yes.
All right, they'll share, but maybe you can go first. Kunal.
Okay, sure. Could you just go back to the previous slide because I'm using that chemical.
All right, sure. Oh, just give me a second. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. So, Scamper. So first with S substitute. So now, let's take. Okay, you can hear me clearly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take that small robot machine that can clear out the leaves automatically. So if you have to substitute, to replace one part of your solution or device with something else. So now we can modify this in multiple different ways. So first of all, we can either have, let's say, a blower or something like a vacuumer. We can have a bunch of sensors that can detect the leaves, or we can have a scanner that can scan the entire room and get your understanding of where the robot should move and all that stuff. So you can modify it depending on how you want to do it. Combine. So add something that already exists to your solution. So basically, you can combine this robot with, let's say, maybe a CCTV camera or something. So that camera can basically first get a look at the room, and then depending on, let's say, if there are leaves, then the robot can go and clean it up. If not, then no. Then adapt. Change an existing idea to solve your problem. So the existing idea is this robot, but let's say we want to make it more efficient. Um, Probably we can have something like an inbuilt system in the balcony itself, which maybe during the night time can just take away all the leaves or something like that, or throughout the day. Then modify. No, I didn't modify. No, I didn't do that. Modify, alter one aspect of your product. So I, like I said, you can just keep changing. I mean, you can modify a robot in any way you like, in the sense, or let's say we don't even take a robot, or we take anyone else's solution. I mean, that some people had. Then you can modify everything in multiple ways. Like you can add extensions, or you can add maybe other parts to it. Now, put to another use. So you can put the same product in multiple uses now, because if you think about it, automated robot that can move around in its environment, not bang into any walls, using sensors and all that stuff, and can find its path in an environment that's completely automated. So basically, if you observe, Tesla car also uses the same principles, in the sense there's sensors all around, and by itself it can find its way, and by itself it won't bang into any other car. So you can put the same concept in many other uses. Eliminate or remove part of the solution you have created. So we can we can really eliminate this full fancy robot thing, and we can just have a much simpler solution, like a vacuum cleaner, or something like a leaf blower that is there in two corners of the balcony, which can every 1 hour just blow and move all the leaves. And reserves. So reserve no, sorry, reverse the orientation of the product. Wait, you mean like turning the robot upside down? I mean, if you do that, the robot won't work. But
you don't need to actually like turn it upside down. It's just changing the orientation a little bit, or changing the process.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, but you can't put the robot on its head. Like,
yeah,
it would work. I don't know.
Wait, should I tag someone else to see their idea?
Actually, yeah, that's a very good idea.
No, because ultimately then no one will really land up saying anything.
Yeah, this is a good idea. Let's do a popcorn system, so you can call someone else.
Yeah, sure. How about Vidushi? Or Radhika, or Adish, or Anya, or anyone.
All of them will go. Pick one.
Okay, Radhika.
Okay. Thanks, Kana.
So my current solution that I thought of was a moving bin sort of system that can detect the leaves before they fall and move to catch them. And initially, I also thought that it would have a fan in case some leaves fall to blow them away. So the substitution that I did was initially I thought of the bin as more of a robot with legs that can walk around to collect the leaves, but I thought of another solution, which was to use roller wheels instead, like wheels instead of legs, so it's more efficient. Then for combination, I added a vacuum cleaner or a suction pipe that can pick up the fallen leaves and put them inside the bin as well. Then for adaptation, I added that the bin has the ability to take the leaves and put them into soil of plants, because the plants will grow better with the dried leaves.
All right.
Then for modification, I thought of making the bin a bit larger in size so that it can hold more leaves, so that John doesn't have to constantly empty the bin as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Then for put to another use, I thought that it can move around the other parts of the house as well as a bin for food items and waste. And it can make compost of these objects with the dried leaves. I also thought if John wants, it can also be used to collect and clean up after his kids, like their toys.
Yeah.
Then to eliminate, I thought that I'd finally remove the fan idea that I initially thought of, because there is a suction pipe that is more efficient.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you have anything for reverse?
I couldn't think of anything for reverse.
That's all right. That's okay. I was going to say something. Yeah, okay. So for eliminate, can someone tell me why we eliminate? What's the reason for eliminating? Yes, Anya, go ahead.
To make something simpler and easier to use.
Yes, absolutely. That's correct. So you want to make your product, your device, your solution as efficient as possible. You want to get rid of the unnecessary elements, right? So, like you said, Aradhita, that the fan seems kind of unnecessary since it already has that whole suction thing. So, if you had both, that would be inefficient. That would be extra cost you'd be putting into the machine. And in the end, it wouldn't really add much to it. Correct? Am I using correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the whole point of eliminating. All right, Radhita, we're going to continue with the popcorn, so you can pick someone else.
Vidushi.
Okay.
So my product was kind of similar to a Radhita, so my points are also overlapping. But for substitute, I would so instead of only having it sense leaves, we can have it sense all different kinds of materials to keep the balcony clean at all times. Then for combining, I thought that we could add a vacuum cleaner to it, so you have like a product that already exists adding to it. Then for adapting, I thought that we could have a leaf blower that senses the leaves instead of like you having buttons to push for the leaves that like flown into the leaf blower. So it can have like a sensory machine learning thing where it can sense different kinds of materials.
Yeah.
So to modify it, it was the same as Aralta's point. So give it the capacity to store the whole day's leaves. So Mr. John won't need to like empty it often.
Yeah.
And to put to another use, I thought that it shouldn't only clean leaves, but like maybe in movie theaters to clean up popcorn or in schools to clean up scraps of paper. It can be used for all these. So like you can make it sense different kinds of materials to make it adapt to different surroundings. And to eliminate, I thought instead of having a vacuum cleaner and a leaf blower together, we like two different objects, we can actually put them into one. And so it becomes more compact. And
Yes.
I didn't find anything for reverse.
All right. Okay, that's fine. Good ideas. Then who do you want to pick next?
Adi.
Okay.
Okay, so my original thing was a fan to like blow leaves away. So I would substitute it with like uh I don't know what it's called, but like I think it's called a suction pipe. So basically, instead of blowing the leaves away, it would suck suck the leaves in. I would to combine. I would probably add like a bag at the back so that it's easier. You don't have to take it out into the trash like every 5 minutes. Adapt. So I I didn't really get anything for adapt or modify, but put to another use. I could really just you know clean up the trash on the road or something with it, like so that it's to eliminate. Uh, there was nothing to eliminate, and I can't really reverse the orientation of the product either.
I don't necessarily agree with the fact that you can't do it. You can do it. It might take a little bit longer to think, but you can do it. All right, who do you want next? Who should go next? Adish.
Sorry.
Who should go next?
Oh,
Just pick
anyone
anyone.
really, Vedant?
So my original idea was like the Roomba, and so I replaced like the vacuum part. So instead of sucking it in, I made it like a scanning area. So like every time if you just keep it in like the same place, it will know that the dimensions of your balcony. So it will know when to stop and like where the edges are. Then I thought I can add a camera. So so like at a height, so I can see where the leaves are. So the Roomba can automatically just go over there instead of scanning the whole area. And I can modify the Roomba bigger, so it could actually keep the leaves. So like it could blow it. And another use, I thought maybe like it could dry the floor or something. So like if the floor is wet, I wasn't too sure about this. So like maybe it can write or something. And the part I removed was the vacuum.
Okay, makes sense. The only reason I asked was because my Wi-Fi cut out for a bit. I couldn't hear you. But yeah, good idea. So I think we will move on now. So, prototype. So since all our solutions, I think most of them are physical solutions, we can't actually prototype them right now. So what you do when you can't make a physical prototype is you make a sketch that shows functionality of the product. So say you have something that looks like a leaf blower, like you want to label it, you need to sketch it out, you need to label it, so it's absolutely clear how it works and what it looks like. So we're going to sketch our solution, the final solution that we've decided we want to go with. We're not going to take 15 minutes. We're going to take 7 minutes to do, not 7 minutes, I'll give you 10 minutes to do this. All right. And I would actually insist that you use Google Drawings to do it so we can look at it together later. So it's not going to be very, very neat since you're going to be doing it on your computers or wherever you're doing it. So just go to your folder and click on new and add a Google drawing. And you should be able to sketch your solution out of it.
I don't know how to do a Google drawing.
It's okay. I'll show you. Give me a second.
But I'm on the iPad.
My Google drawing will be very bad.
Can we draw it out and then scan it and upload it? Onto the
All
drive?
right. Okay, fine.
Because my Google drawing will be very bad. Like, you won't be able to understand anything. So can we just draw it and scan it?
Okay, fine. But then make sure it's up in the next 10 minutes, okay?
Yes.
If you're using a different device like an iPad or something, feel free to draw it on that and upload it as well. Just make sure that in 10 minutes there's a drawing on, like in your folders. All right? Perfect. If you have any questions, again, you may ask. Just give me a second. Okay. So now the next step is to test, right?
But we don't have a real life prototype. We can't test.
Yes. By test, it doesn't mean test your prototype. It means test whether your user responds to it, whether your user thinks it will work for them, right? So sometimes even real prototypes, like physical prototypes. So I was not going to cover this today, but since since you asked, sorry, someone's not on mute, and I can hear you guys talking. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. So you're trying to see if the user responds to it. And there are multiple types of prototypes. One is one shows functionality, one shows appearance. It really just depends. So not all prototypes can be physically tested to see if they work. But this is more to see whether it would work for Mr. John, whether it would work for the user. What do they think about it? Because you're going to get a lot of feedback from your user, and then you're going to have to go back to your prototype, make some changes, and then come back again, right? Make sense?
Yes.
So now, see, we don't actually have a John, so we're going to pretend like I am John. And would like you guys to volunteer ideally to see your sketches, but if you don't, then I will pick. We don't have to show who's
My My sketches is not in detail at all, but I've just made boxes and written down all the features because I couldn't draw them. So.
That's okay.
Yes, my drawing is bad. I've written stuff.
It doesn't matter. So when you're sketching, right, it doesn't matter if your drawing is bad. But it needs to still be a sketch. You can't, like, I understand, Anya, why you did it because it got deleted. But I do think it's important that you make sketches, even if you think it doesn't look like what it should look like. It helps the user visualize the actual end.
Okay. Can go first. Should I share screen?
Have you uploaded it to the drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will.
I'm not being able to upload it.
That's odd. So when we get to you, you can just share your screen. Final ID. What is it? Okay. So we're going to resume share. All right. All right. So I know the functionality, right? So I completely understand the functionality, but I can't comment whether it would work for the user or not, simply because you ran out of time because everything got deleted for you. But it needs to show how it works, not just say how it works. So I understand why yours only says it. That's completely fine. But when you're actually prototyping, for the hackathon, when you make your final prototype,
that I'm gonna draw it with my own hands instead of using my fingers to draw.
Actually, we'll do what you should do for that a little bit later as well. So now, who wants to go next? Anya, actually, you can pick someone to go next.
Hello. Daniel.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just uploading mine. 1 second.
All right. Anyone else want to go in the meantime?
Or should I go till then?
I would go if I knew how to upload.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, were you saying that you want to go right now, Rudra?
I don't mind going. Yeah.
Okay. Have you uploaded yours?
Yup, I've uploaded mine.
Okay.
It's bot. Yeah. So basically, so on the left, like the small thing is an ultrasonic sensor, and it like recognizes everything, that if it's a leaf or if it's not a leaf, and then the compartment opens with a motor, so it goes up and down, and then when the compartment goes down, the bot uses its wheels and drives like forward, so the leaf automatically gets picked up and goes into the compartment, and then whenever it gets like filled up till the line that I created, like there, you can remove it from a disposal like opener, sort of like a bottle cap but larger, so then you can dispose of it. And then there are two motors to drive the wheels, like two motors for the two front wheels and then two motors for the back wheels, that can, and so then basically when they use that, the wheels can like go forward, which helps like putting the leaves in the compartment, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think maybe you didn't have enough time. It says the last edit was made 18 minutes ago, though. So I don't know.
I just drew it. I didn't write any explanation. I didn't know yet.
Yeah. So basically, your prototype sketches should convey the whole picture. So you know how you explained it to me right now?
Yeah.
Right. That helped me understand what this was. But when when you make your final prototype for the actual hackathon, it should be very self-explanatory. Sorry.
Okay.
And
Just write
you
everything.
shouldn't have to explain it, right? No, more like if so. You said that's a compartment. So how does it open? Does it open like with a flap or a sliding door?
It just goes up and like from the top to bottom. So like the motor just pulls it up if it's not a leaf, and I mean if it's a leaf, then it just the motor like moves down. So then it goes down and then yeah.
So
I have a question.
to show arrows, right? So I really like your drawing. It's very clear. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like it. Just next time use arrows and stuff to show how things move because they're moving parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
have a question. When does the session end?
When does the session end? It should end in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, actually, we're just going to wrap up really quickly. So I'm just going to summarize everything that we have done right now throughout class, like throughout this session. Sorry. So the design process, it starts with empathize. So we understood John and his life a little bit, or ideally you'd like to understand a lot more before you can identify a problem. And then we defined the problem. We understood what the problem was. What does John need? So we said that he needs more free time, and he spends a lot of time like cleaning the leaves in his balcony, right? So ideally he shouldn't be doing that. So that's the problem we were trying to solve. And then we went through the whole ideation phase where we came up with a bunch of ideas. So Scamper falls under ideation. And then after that we prototyped. We didn't really prototype, but we created sketches. So sometimes that is used as a substitute, and that's an acceptable substitute sometimes. But when you're designing an app, you should prototype, and I will tell you what you can use to prototype. And once you prototype, you test. So once you test, you find out how the user responds. Maybe there are some changes that he or she wants to make. Then you go back to the prototyping phase and you make those changes. So this is like a continuous loop that goes on until the user thinks the product is acceptable and it matches their needs. Yeah? Okay, so that's basically the entire thing that we went through today. Do you guys have any questions about this? Anything that's unclear about what we went through today? Okay. So just wrapping up. So for the hackathon, you will be designing an application, right? So for that, you can use Figma. It's quite easy to use. And once you log on, it'll actually teach you how to use it as well. It'll give you a little tutorial. And then in case you get stuck, of course, we're all here to help you out. But yeah, so for applications and for apps in general, actually, all apps, you can very easily prototype. You should not be making sketches. Only for physical prototypes, like actual machines, a sketch is acceptable.
I have a question. For the hackathon, do we have to make like a real prototype?
So since for this you will be making an app, right? You'll be making an app. So prototype for an app won't be physical, right? It will be on some software. So that's exactly what I'm actually saying right now. You should use Figma. Figma is a software that you can use to create prototypes. So you don't need to create a physical prototype. Is that okay?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I think. Do you guys have any questions? I already asked you, but any other questions? If there are none, then I think we are done for today.
Thank you, Saloni, for the amazing workshop. Can everyone please thank her?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you learned something useful today that you hopefully did not know earlier. Yeah.